80 miles per hour, that is the wind speed screaming toward Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri tonight. And the Storm Prediction Center just upgraded this to a Level 3 enhanced risk this morning. Level 3 out of 5. That is the same rating they slap on the map before major outbreak days, and right now it covers 50 million Americans who are going about their Friday without any idea what tonight looks like. And here's the number that really stopped me cold. The SPC is showing a 30% chance of hail reaching softball size from the most violent supercells today. That's a baseball coming at your car at terminal velocity, and that is not even the lead hazard in this forecast. At exactly the 4-minute mark, I'll show you the 1-hour window tonight when the tornado risk hits its absolute peak, and it's going to land at the worst possible time of day. At minute 8, I'll break down the overnight threat that almost nobody is warning people about. And at minute 12, I'll tell you what mid-March is shaping up to look like that has forecasters genuinely uneasy. Stay with me if you're in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Missouri, or you've got family anywhere in between. This is the forecast that matters today. All right, let's get into it. First thing you need to understand, this isn't just one storm rolling through. What we're dealing with is a highly active jet stream that is basically acting like a conveyor belt, sending one disturbance after another across the country. 7 days of this. 7 days of rounds. And right smack in the middle of all that activity today is the day that jumps out. The Storm Prediction Center's enhanced risk, Level 3 out of 5, is centered over central to eastern Oklahoma, and it reaches north all the way through Kansas City, Joplin, Wichita, Emporia, and Topeka. But before I go any further, I want you to picture something. Right now, somewhere in western Oklahoma, a family is finishing up breakfast, kids getting ready for school, dad checking his phone. Nobody in that house is thinking about what tonight looks like. And that is exactly what worries me about days like this. So, let me walk you through what's actually driving all of this, because I think once you understand the setup, you'll get why forecasters are taking this so seriously. We have a massive surge of warm, juicy Gulf moisture pushing north, and I mean really warm. Folks, Dallas is going to flirt with 80 degrees today, Austin near 80, Oklahoma City in the mid-70s. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That warmth isn't just a nice spring day, it's fuel. It's the energy the atmosphere needs to build violent thunderstorms. And colliding head-on with all that warm Gulf air is a powerful cold front dropping out of the northwest. When those two air masses crash into each other this afternoon, the atmosphere is going to go haywire, and I mean that literally. The temperature contrast we're seeing today is almost 40 degrees difference over just a few hundred miles Minneapolis, sitting near 40 Dallas, near 80 same Friday afternoon. That kind of contrast is the physics behind every tornado you've ever seen on the news. It's the engine that powers all of this. Now, there is something new in today's forecast that I want to make sure everyone understands, because the Storm Prediction Center just rolled this out, and a lot of folks don't know what it means yet. They've added something called a SIG1, a significance intensity marker. And when you see a SIG1 on the tornado outlook, that is telling you that strong tornadoes are on the table, not just brief little spin-ups. We're talking EF2, possibly higher. Let me put EF2 in plain terms for you. That's winds between 111 and 135 miles per hour. That is enough to completely demolish a well-built home, not damage it. Demolish it. Flip cars off the highway like they're toys. Snap full-grown trees at the trunk. If you live inside that black outlined intensity zone on the SPC map, EF2 is the floor of what's possible today, not the ceiling. And look, I know some of y'all in Oklahoma have seen a lot of tornado seasons. You know the drill. But I'm going to say this directly. Familiarity with tornadoes is not the same thing as being prepared for them. This Friday has the kind of atmospheric setup that meteorologists remember for years afterward. Please don't let it catch you off guard. All right, so let's talk timing, because knowing when this hits is just as important as knowing where, maybe more so. Here's the deal. Storms are expected to start firing right around 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time, along the dry line just west of Amarillo and Lubbock. Once those storms ignite, they can produce a tornado within about an hour to 90 minutes of firing up. So, Do the math with me. Storms fire around 5-6 p.m. that puts our peak tornado window right around sunset. 6-7, maybe 8 p.m. tonight. Right when a lot of folks in Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle are thinking about dinner, running errands, picking up kids from activities. That timing is not ideal. And it's the part of this forecast that I want burned into your brain before you walk out the door this afternoon. And here's something that most people are not talking about in today's forecast: what happens after dark. Once the sun goes down, the tornado threat doesn't just disappear. Those discrete supercells start to consolidate into a squall line and bow out. And when that happens, the wind threat absolutely explodes. We're looking at gusts that could exceed hurricane force 74, 75, maybe 80 miles per hour, screaming through Oklahoma and southern Kansas well after midnight tonight. Think about that for a second. You go to bed tonight. Everything seems fine. Storm has passed. And then at 2 in the morning, 80 miles per hour winds are tearing through your neighborhood. That's the overnight scenario that people don't prep for. And it's the one that causes the most damage to property and power infrastructure. Oklahoma. Kansas do not assume this is over when the sun goes down. Now, I promised you the hail breakdown at minute 8, and I'm delivering it a little early because, honestly, this hail threat is the thing that got the enhanced risk upgrade in the first place. Here's the number 30% probability of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter across the core enhanced zone. 1 inch, that's big enough to leave dents in your car hood and crack windshields. But inside that black outlined intensity zone, we are looking at hailstones that could reach 2 inches in diameter. That's the size of a hen egg, falling from 30,000 feet at terminal velocity on your vehicle, your roof, your windows. If you've got a car sitting outside right now in Texas, Oklahoma, or Kansas, this sincerely fine covered parking before this afternoon, not after the sirens go off, right now. And here's the part that honestly shocked me when I was going through the model data this morning. There is a real possibility that 1 or 2 of the most powerful supercells today produce 3-inch hail. 3 inches. That is almost the size of a baseball. A baseball-sized piece of ice falling from the sky does not just damage vehicles, it can injure people and animals caught in the open. This is a very serious hail threat on top of everything else. All right. Let's go city by city, but I'm not just going to rattle off a list. I want to give each area something specific and actionable, because your situation depends a lot on exactly where you're sitting in this setup. And if you're in a city I don't get to, drop it in the comments below your city. Your zip code and folks in this community will help fill in the gaps. That's what this comment section does on big weather days. Oklahoma City. Let's start here because you are right in the heart of this thing. 10% tornado probability within 25 miles of your location. 1 in 10. I know that sounds low to some folks, but think about it this way. If I told you there was a 1 in 10 chance of a tornado coming through your neighborhood tonight, would you have a plan? You should. Have your shelter picked out. Have your alerts on. Be ready before 4 p.m. Tulsa, you're in the enhanced tornado zone, sitting in a genuinely ripe environment for discrete supercell development this afternoon. Bartlesville, Muskogee, Tahlequah. All of you are in the crosshairs too. Eastern Oklahoma has the wind shear, the instability, and the moisture today to support the kind of supercells that produce significant tornadoes. Take this one seriously, please. Kansas City, you are smack in the middle of the 10% tornado probability zone, and you sit inside the enhanced risk corridor. Storms arriving in your area will likely come through late tonight. So this isn't an afternoon threat for you, it's an evening and overnight threat. Don't head out for a late dinner tonight without your alerts active. And check on your folks before you go to sleep. Wichita, enhanced risk. Black outlined intensity zone for both tornado and wind threats. Some wind gusts in your area could exceed hurricane force overnight. Hutchinson, Pratt, Liberal y'all are in the same boat. The southern Kansas plains are going to get hit hard tonight. And I want every single person in those communities to have a plan before sunset. Now here's something worth slowing down for, because it tells a story about just how big this setup is. Dallas-Fort Worth, you're in the slight risk zone. That sounds less scary than enhanced risk. But let me tell you Dallas in the slight risk zone with temperatures near 80 degrees and a tornado-capable supercell passing through is still a dangerous situation. Large hail, damaging winds, and a tornado cannot be ruled out for DFW tonight. San Antonio and Austin, that I-35 corridor, is something I'm watching carefully. Both cities are looking at severe storms probable this afternoon and evening. All hazards on the table: hail, wind, and tornado. The energy along that corridor with temps running near 80 degrees gives any supercell that fires there a lot to work with. Have your plans in place before lunchtime today if you're in Central Texas. St. Louis, Missouri. You're in the enhanced risk corridor. Storms hitting your area will likely be in their line phase by the time they arrive, which means the wind threat is your headline concern. But given how loaded this atmosphere is, I wouldn't completely dismiss the tornado risk either. The line of storms moving through Missouri tonight is going to be fast-moving and mean. And for folks in western Arkansas, Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Jonesboro. I want to make sure you're not sleeping on this. You're not in the core enhanced zone. But you are in the direct path of whatever develops to your west this afternoon. Storms in Oklahoma do not stop at the state line. Have your alerts on. This is not a drill for Arkansas tonight. Now let's head north, because I don't want the Midwest to feel like they got left off the list. Chicago, slight risk today. Temperatures climbing into the mid-50s. Thunderstorms are possible, and damaging winds are on the table as the squall line races northeast tonight. It's not the biggest tornado day for you, but the wind threat is real and worth watching as you get into the late evening hours. Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Louisville, Columbus. You're all in the zone where storms could reach you after dark. Rain and thunderstorms likely, with severe weather possible on the edges. Folks, don't go to bed tonight without checking your weather app one more time. The line of storms moving through the Midwest is going to cover a lot of ground after midnight. And it's going to be moving fast. Memphis and Nashville, warm and humid. Severe thunderstorms possible with hail and damaging winds tonight. The entire Mid-South corridor is going to be active, and isolated tornadoes cannot be completely ruled out even in the later stages of this event. If you got family in Tennessee tonight, shoot them a text. Make sure they know what's coming. And here's the thing about today that I really want to sink in: this system doesn't care about state lines. We've got Houston looking at scattered severe storms near 85 degrees. New Orleans warm and humid with severe possible near 80. The Gulf Coast has been feeding moisture into this whole setup all week, and today it's paying off in the worst way possible for communities across the middle of the country. For the folks on the East Coast, New York, Philadelphia, D.C., Boston, you're looking at rain and breezy conditions today. Nothing severe. But I want you to understand something: that warm air you're feeling right now, those above normal temperatures pushing up the coast, that's the same warm air mass that is fueling every one of these violent thunderstorms 1,000 miles to your west today. The whole country is connected in this pattern. All right, now I want to circle back to something I promised you at the top, and this is the part of the forecast that doesn't get nearly enough attention during a big severe weather day: the flooding risk. This storm system is going to dump multiple inches of rain across a large corridor from the plains all the way into the Ohio Valley over the next several days. And we're not talking about one rainfall event. We're talking about repeated back-to-back soakings on already saturated ground. Here's the number I want you to remember: 6 inches of moving water can knock an adult off their feet. 12 inches can sweep away a vehicle, a full-size car or truck. Gone. Every single year, more Americans die from flooding than from tornadoes. And every year, the leading cause is people driving into flooded roadways. When you see standing water across a road after these storms, turn around. Just turn around. Now, and this is the part where I need you to stay with me, because this is where today's forecast gets really important for your family's safety. Let's talk about what you actually do when storms fire tonight. How do you know when to take shelter? Here's the straight answer: you do not wait for the tornado to be on the ground. The moment a tornado warning is issued for your county, that is your signal to move. Not check Twitter, not look out the window. Move. If you don't have a basement, and a lot of folks in Oklahoma and Texas don't, here's your plan. Lowest floor of your home, most interior room you've got, bathroom, closet, hallway away from windows, get down low and cover your head with something. A mattress, blankets, your arms, anything between you and flying debris. And if you're in a mobile home or manufactured housing, I cannot stress this enough, you need to be in a different building before these storms arrive, not during. Here's something I've seen cause real tragedy in tornado events, people sheltering in their cars. Your vehicle is not a safe shelter during a tornado. Not your truck, not your SUV. If you're caught in a car with a tornado approaching and no building nearby, get out of the car. Find the lowest ground you can, a ditch. A low area lie flat, and cover your head. Low ground beats a vehicle every single time. Now let me give you the practical checklist right now. Before any of this hits, first charge your phone and any backup battery packs right this second, with wind gusts potentially hitting 75 to 80 miles per hour tonight across parts of Oklahoma and Kansas. Power outages are not just possible, they are highly likely. You want to be able to receive warnings and communicate with family when the lights go out. Second, make sure you have multiple ways to receive tornado warnings. Wireless emergency alerts on your phone is good. A NOAA weather radio is better. A local TV or radio station is also good. The reason you want multiple sources is simple: apps get delayed. Cell towers get overwhelmed during major events. Layer your warning systems. Don't bet your family's safety on a single app notification. Third, and I want you to do this over dinner tonight if you haven't already, have a 5-minute conversation with your family about where you go and what you do if a warning comes in. Where's the shelter? What do you do if the tornado warning sounds and dad is stuck in traffic? What's the plan for the kids if they're home alone? These conversations take 5 minutes, and they are the single most important thing you can do before the first storm fires tonight. Y'all, don't forget about your pets either. Bring them in now. Livestock owners in the affected zones, check your structures, check your animals. Have a plan. Hail the size of eggs causes real injury to animals caught in the open. And if you've got horses or cattle in pastures across Oklahoma and Kansas tonight, this is the time to think through your options while you still have time to act. One more thing before we move on, and this is important, especially if you're watching from somewhere safe today. New York, LA, Denver, Seattle, Miami. You're not in the threat zone, but I guarantee you have family or friends somewhere in the center of this country. Text them right now. Share this forecast. A 2-second message could be the heads up that changes how someone tonight prepares. Don't assume they already know. All right, let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture, because today is not where this story ends. Saturday brings another round of severe weather. And this one is actually quite unusual for early March. We've got a slight risk in 2 completely separate locations at the same time, one up near the Great Lakes Buffalo, western Pennsylvania, southern tier of New York, and a second one back down near the Gulf Coast in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Saturday's main hazards are damaging winds in the 60 to 70 miles per hour range and hail up to golf ball size. The tornado threat is lower than today, but it's not zero, especially across the Ohio Valley. Over 50 million people are still in some form of severe weather risk on Saturday. Y'all, this atmosphere genuinely doesn't know how to take a day off this week. And here's something that really should put this week in perspective. We are in early March. Spring doesn't officially start for another 2 weeks. And we are already seeing severe weather setups that look like peak tornado season in May. That's not normal. That's what happens when you have an active, energized jet stream and Gulf moisture running well above average for early spring. The season is starting early, and it's starting with a bang. Sunday and Monday, those are your breather days. Most of the country gets a relatively quiet stretch. That is your window to recover, restock, recharge your devices, and get mentally prepared. Because Tuesday is already on the radar as another significant severe weather day. The Storm Prediction Center has already got a level 2 slight risk flagged for the southern plains next Tuesday. And that is 6 days out. They don't put that up unless they're genuinely concerned. And here's the piece of this that really has my attention for next week. We're watching a piece of energy that could eject across the country and develop into a large, powerful storm system. If that comes together the way the models are hinting, Tuesday could be another all hazards day wind, hail, and tornadoes across the southern plains and potentially the mid-south. Keep Tuesday on your radar. I'll have a detailed breakdown as we get closer. Now let me tell you about something the models are showing for mid to late March that has a lot of meteorologists talking. And I'll be honest, it's a bit of a gut punch if you're someone who's been ready for spring to stick around. The European model is hinting at a pretty significant Arctic blast dropping out of Canada that could target the Great Plains and East Coast somewhere around the 14th or 15th of March. I know nobody wants to hear it. Spring weather folks are absolutely not going to like this. But y'all, winter isn't done until it's done, and March has a long history of pulling the rug out from under everyone just when they thought it was finally over. If this Arctic blast materializes, we could be talking about temperatures crashing 30 to 40 degrees within 24 hours for parts of the country that are near 80 degrees this week. That is a whiplash most people's bodies and pipes are not ready for. So here's your bottom line, and I want this to be very clear. Today, Friday, March 6th, is a dangerous day across a wide swath of the central United States. The enhanced risk zone from Oklahoma through Kansas and into Missouri represents a real, serious threat of tornadoes, including strong EF. 2, tornadoes damaging wind gusts that could exceed hurricane force. And hail that could reach baseball size from the most powerful supercells. The most dangerous window is this afternoon through tonight starting around 5 or 6 p.m. in the Texas Panhandle and western Oklahoma, peaking at sunset, and then transitioning to a severe wind threat overnight across Oklahoma and Kansas. That overnight wind threat is the one I keep coming back to, because people are going to go to bed thinking the danger is past, and it hasn't. Here's what I need from every single one of you watching today. Have your plan ready before 4 p.m. Know your shelter. Know your timing. Have your alerts on. Have a charged phone. Have a conversation with your family. And when warnings come in for your county tonight, move immediately. Don't hesitate. Don't look out the window first. Just move. And one more thing. Check on your neighbors, especially anyone elderly, anyone living alone, anyone who might not be following the forecast closely. A knock on the door, a phone call, a quick text, that kind of thing matters on a day like this. Communities that look out for each other on severe weather days come through them better. That's just true. It's always been true. For real-time warnings as storms fire today, go to weather.gov and search your county. For the latest risk graphics, head over to spc.noaa.gov. That's the Storm Prediction Center. Both of those sites will update throughout the afternoon and evening as this event unfolds. Stay informed. Stay flexible. And if your area gets upgraded, take it seriously. We are going to be watching this situation all day. If your area gets hit tonight, drop it in the comments your city, what you saw, how bad it was. Not just for us, but because folks watching this from nearby communities need that real-time ground truth. This comment section has a way of becoming a real-time community weather network on days like this, and that genuinely helps people. All right, folks, stay weather aware. Keep those alerts on. Have your plan ready before sunset. And whether you're sitting in the middle of the threat zone or watching from somewhere safe today, look out for each other. That's what gets communities through days like this. God bless y'all, and stay safe out there tonight.